Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Svelte Radio, first one of the year. Not a lot happened over the holidays, but we're going to go through the new stuff anyway. But first, some introductions. I'm Kevin. I run a site called Svelte School, where I teach people about Svelte, and I'm involved in the community side of Svelte as well. Yeah.
I'm Shawn. I work at AWS on AWS Amplify, and we actually unbroke the Svelte Society website recently. So I'm proud of that, even though I didn't really do much there. So shout out to SilentWorks, who actually figured out the Routify issue that we had.
Nice. I'm Antony. I'm the CTO of a company called Beyonc, which is a travel and tourism startup in the UK. I'm also a Svelte core maintainer.
Cool. So what have you guys been doing over the holidays?
Oh yeah, so we figured we'll start off with like some updates, right? So
Yep.
I think some of us got ourselves like Christmas presents. Something I realized actually in catching up with my team at AWS is that everyone bought games. Like the games industry must be huge right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is not a surprise, but like really, because there's nothing else to buy. So,
Yeah.
When
have
you say
have
games, do you mean like board games or do you mean like computer games?
mostly computer games, but also board games. I think people went for computer games first, and then we realized that we like the digital stimulation or whatever. It's
Sure.
easier to set up computer games.
Yeah. Yeah, have you guys seen the Cyberpunk game?
The what?
Cyberpunk?
what?
Cyberpunk.
Oh, yeah.
2077? Yeah. Looks amazing.
I'm
but
actually
also very buggy.
I was actually eyeing Stadia. The bugs are the fun part, right? Like you could so one of the
Right.
top posts on Reddit the past week was showing off like the amazing detail of the shadowing of Cyberpunk and how it, like, even when you hold the rifle, the shadows fall on the rifle and you can move around. And then the guy kept on walking backwards, and the shadow came from a car that was being suspended in the air. Because the graphics were like screwed up, but they're like, but the shadows are great.
So I mean, this is the bit I don't really understand, because what makes a game appealing? In my mind, the game's appeal is in its gameplay and how explorable it is and things like that. I don't know much about games. I mean, I'm a Linux user, right? I don't really have many games I can install. Maybe Tux Racer, I don't know. But I guess the point is, for me, like, I love bugs in games. I think they're brilliant. They make it much more interesting. But I'm not really a gamer. It looks like Cyberpunk looks amazing. I've seen someone stream it on Twitch. It looks incredible to look at. But honestly, from the brief bit that I looked at it for, the game looks like GTA, which is fine in my books because GTA is the one game that I do occasionally play. The graphics look amazing, but the thing for me is I've heard that the AI is just not really there. Like, characters don't even have the basic AI you find in games. They just kind of wander around aimlessly into traffic. Like, for me, that takes away a lot of what makes GTA appealing in that there's a sense of realism. If I want to just drive around and follow the road rules and interact with people, then I can do that. And if the AI is not working, then that's gone. So
Right.
It may be a personal thing, but I feel like they're missing a big trick by not having that sort of stuff ready. And
Yeah.
it's prior art. It's been done a million times, all right? So why can't it just be working?
Right.
The armchair observer's answer is that they rushed it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Probably the explanation, actually. Yeah.
But aren't all games rushed?
Simplest answer. Yeah, probably true. So, well, I wanted to point people to a resource. The GDC YouTube channel, Game Dev Conference, had a really good breakdown of the Spider-Man PS4 AI, where it actually shows you how, because Spider-Man has infinite rendering, and you can see people, you can theoretically interact with any single pedestrian on the street. You can attack them, you can talk to them, whatever. And it's a really interesting choreography of how it's random AI, and then the moment you interact with one of them, then they're sort of possessed by a different sort of AI, and they talk a lot about it. And yeah, it's
That sounds interesting.
pretty much as open source as game dev can get,
Right.
without
Sounds good.
actually sharing the code.
Yeah. All right. So you guys treated yourself to some new presents, I heard.
Sure. Who's first?
Shawn, by all means.
You go, Shawn.
My problem is like I don't have like a full report, and everyone else, you know. So I'll the headline is I got a M1 MacBook Mini. A Mac Mini, and that's the first desktop that I've purchased ever. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Because every prior PC that I've ever made, I actually assembled. I bought and assembled. And obviously you can't do that with Apple.
Right.
Because hashtag money. But
yeah, unless you go for the Mac Pro, right? But then
yeah. Well, so it's a big round trip for me because when I was growing up, I used to treat like PCs as like this where you get serious work done. And then somewhere along the lines, everyone just transitioned to laptops at work and it became a normal thing. And then I just kind of went with it. But this is the first time for me going back intentionally from laptop to desktop. And really the justification was that it's just half the price. And I wasn't really moving that much in COVID. So I think that's kind of it. There's more ports, but like I really did struggle with that decision because for twice the desktop price, you could get a battery and a keyboard and a screen. That's decent value right there. So
right.
It was a real challenge to me as to like what I should get and what I was trying to invest for. But mainly I was just kind of curious about all the reports. I definitely felt my main personal laptop, my only personal laptop is from 2017. So it's starting to feel the age a little bit. And particularly one of my pain points is video editing because I do a lot of tutorials and like for work and then for Egghead.io and then sometimes for Svelte. And typically compression is like a 1-to-1 ratio. Like if you're using ScreenFlow and you're compiling like a 1 hour video, you may need like about 1 hour or maybe 1.5 hours to compress that video.
Yeah.
So anything that can solve that pain point is good. And then obviously compiling code, if that's any faster, then that's nice as well. And then I heard a lot of fringe benefits. So I think some people in the JavaScript community like Devin Govett, but then also maybe I guess some more famous names like DHH. There's others that have actually jumped on the train who are failing to come to mind right now. But they're just saying like just navigating between windows. And I even feel that latency. So I think anecdotally, I feel like it is. So I've had it up and running for about 4 or 5 days. I feel like it's faster, but then I can't distinguish between that and just like the fact that it's a new computer with less software loaded on it. So that's my report.
Fair enough. That's fair enough.
I mean, it's almost as portable as a laptop anyway, right?
Well,
if you decide to
right.
But if you decide to like move across the globe back to the US, for example, you can always bring. It's easier to bring a Mac Mini than a full desktop tower.
Sure. So I mean, one of the reasons is that you should get a M1 laptop is that the power consumption is very low. But what's the point of getting there's no point getting a low power consumption if you also end up making it a desktop where there's no battery.
Yeah.
But it is. Oh, I mean, the other thing is that there's no need for a fan because apparently the cooling characteristics are very good. Again, like I'm very out of my depth here. I don't know much about CPUs and all that. Like I just repeat what other people say, and maybe you guys can fill me in on that detail. But I do have my fan spin up like right now on this work machine that I'm using. My fans are spinning up, and on the M1 it's just quiet.
Yeah, silence is really nice.
I mean, so I think I did the same sort of thing as Shawn. For similar reasons, I think I would really want an Apple M1, mostly because I don't like Intel. I never really have liked Intel or the x86 architecture. So for those who don't know, Intel chips, AMD chips run x86 complex instruction set computing, which is a lot more instructions that directly translate to CPU instructions, whereas RISC, which is what ARM uses, is reduced instruction set computing, which is basically less instructions, more direct. It basically is two different architectures. What Intel do in the Core series processors to speed things up is they actually translate RISC to CISC. So inside a Core processor is effectively a small ARM processor. But obviously that translation has an overhead, right? So there's a cost involved there. So it's just not as fast. So being a Linux user, I can't get an M1. It doesn't work on there yet because it's very Apple proprietary, and it's unlikely it ever will not be that. I'm hoping that some of the manufacturers will sort of jump on the bandwagon and produce their own equivalent. I'm sure they will after a while because there's no way that the x86 architecture can compete now. And also because, ARM is a British company. They originally were. They are now a holdings company somewhere, but RISC and ARM were invented in Britain. And when I went to school, I grew up on ARM processors because it's really what we had in Britain at that time. So there's a lot for me to like about ARM, and I don't have any other Intel machines apart from my main machine because of the power of it, right? Because a lot of ARM processors are generally tablet or phone processors. So I couldn't buy an Apple M1 even though I really, really wanted to, because I don't want to run Mac OS X, right? I want to run Linux. So I've purchased this Asus machine, which is probably about the same sort of size. This runs a Ryzen chipset, which is AMD's new thing or newish thing, which purports to be a lot faster than Intel's processors, even though it's on the same architecture, with the exception of the high-end ones. It's a very nice, small, compact machine, which is, again, for Shawn was mentioning, it's nice and compact, a bit like a laptop. It's portable, but also costs the same thing, right? I spend £1.5 grand on a laptop. It's desirable for me. I'm buying this, and this cost me 350 quid, right? I had some memory. I had a hard disk to it.
Drive, right?
Yeah, and it's still like just over a third of the price of the laptop. And I'm not going anywhere. COVID, UK's completely locked down anyway. But I've worked at home for 3 years anyway, so I probably should have done this sooner because my laptop's 2015. So yeah, I think a lot of the same sort of reasons. It's a bit weird not going back to a laptop because when I grew up, I built a lot of PCs myself. From the age of about 14, I was building PCs because it's great fun. I was playing games, I was running Windows. When I switched to Linux, I just started looking at laptops because of portability, wandering around the house, taking them to work. At work, it was all Windows shop, and I wanted to run Linux, so I took my own laptop to work. And I never thought I'd get a desktop again because I thought this is so great. It's almost equivalent performance in a little tiny package. It's not as fast, but it's almost as good, right? So yeah, it's another kind of weird twist for me too to have this desktop machine instead of a laptop.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to it. My disk is arriving later today, and then I can plug that in and start setting it up.
Oh, exciting.
So I'll have to bring back reports another time on how good it is.
Next time.
But,
yeah.
I got high hopes.
Yeah.
I think it'd be interesting to do a count of how many computers per person in your household, and then chart that over time. So I have a work machine, I have a personal machine. I have my legacy laptop, which I just keep around because the resale value isn't there. I have an iPad and then 2 phones because I still keep my old iPhone around, again, because there's no resale value there, and my Android. So that's like 6 computers for one person. And yeah, that's massively increased from, I used to share like 4 people to one PC.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, it's really this like transition of personal computing.
The holy grail is when you can do everything from your phone, right? You don't even need a computer. You just have your phone.
It has impracticalities.
I don't know if we're there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're definitely not there, but at some point, I'm sure something like that's gonna.
Well, Ubuntu tried to do that, right, with the crossover thing. So at one point, when you could have an Ubuntu phone, you could plug it into your laptop, into your monitor rather, and it would turn into a full desktop machine running off your phone. Unfortunately, they never succeeded, but that was a cool idea and something that I think even Apple haven't really sort of gone that far yet. Would be interesting to see. I mean, I think on the subject of how many computers you've got, Shawn, I must have between 20 and 30. I've kind of forgotten.
What?
But you also, like, Raspberry Pis don't count.
Oh, okay. So then make it 10 to 20, right?
Okay.
Like, it's still not lower. It's just because I kind of a hobbyist and I have machines doing various things around the house, and I like building them. I like repairing them, buying from eBay cheap and fixing them up. I've got 2 or 3 behind me there, just mid repair. So there's like lots of reasons to have lots of computers. But in terms of usability, I'm trying to limit to one because I don't like to go onto each machine and not have the files on the other machine. And the cloud's wonderful, but it's not quite the same.
There's software for that. Yeah, I was thinking actually, so having a desktop and then having if I ever do go for conferences and meetups again, having a work laptop, it forces you to back things up onto the cloud. And I actually thought that was pretty good discipline, because that means, again, like it's all this, you can't keep like proprietary state in your local machine and not commit it.
No, you shouldn't. You never should, right? But the fact is, even if it's in the cloud, I've still got to git check out all those projects and do the right links across projects and things like that. It's all the little bits of setup.
But also like Dropbox for regular files and stuff like that. Anyway.
Yeah.
No, it's a good idea.
It's a thought.
The other thing is I have, I thought I should mention, like, now I'm non-portable in terms of going to a remote office and working because I've not got a laptop. Actually, what I've tended to do in the past anyway is take my Chromebook with me, and then I can basically just RDP or whatever home onto my desktop machine at home. So I don't think it's going to change that much, really. Remote desktop's getting better and better. And a Chromebook's perfect for carrying around. One, because it's ARM-based, right? It's got super low power requirements. So there's that.
For those interested in this topic, apparently you can do that with Xbox and PS4. But then also Stadia is kind of like this whole remote gaming concept. But then also what I think is also trending is this remote development, like with GitHub code spaces, and it's actually Azure code spaces, but rebranded for GitHub. But then also I just learned about the Mighty browser. I don't know if you guys have heard about this. It's basically Chromium as a mainframe. So you don't run Chrome locally, but you just kind of remote into this thing. And apparently it's like way faster because like they do everything in parallel over there on like a much beefier machine. And so I think we might get to this point where we don't have laptops. It's just like iPad and a keyboard, or like a tablet and a keyboard.
Yeah.
I know Guillermo Rauch from Vercel actually is living sort of the iPad life right now, where he's only iPad and keyboard. So
yeah,
it's an interesting peek into the future. Like maybe just nothing's local.
I mean, it's a peek into the future and a past at the same time, right? Because they used to have these dumb
Mainframes.
terminals.
Yep.
Yeah, like mainframes and dumb terminals, wise terminals at your desk where you remoting into a mainframe machine. It's almost like that's the same thing, but now that mainframe is the cloud.
Yep.
And the local network is the internet.
Yeah.
It's like we're going in circles and learning a couple of new things
is.
every time around.
Yeah.
Well, more than a couple probably, but
Yeah.
should we get into actual Svelte stuff maybe?
Sure. Stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're here for, right?
So is that what this podcast is about?
Yeah.
I think.
yeah.
Well, I think
You
people
know?
like the community aspect in the tech. We're all interested in new tech. That's why we're here. So.
Yeah.
Definitely. So Antony, what's new in SvelteKit?
So over Christmas, I actually kind of felt kind of burnt out. So I actually didn't do a huge amount on Svelte. I didn't really look at a computer from about 22nd to the 4th because I just couldn't face it almost.
Yeah.
I did loads of DIY projects.
But that's good. You shouldn't feel bad about it.
I don't think I do. I kind of want more of that, right? I really want to build a house now. Like I want to literally build a house from scratch after watching a YouTube channel that I've sort of got into. It's like, why am I in tech? It's a really odd thing.
Yeah, that's so random. I started watching this German guy who's building like a tiny house. He's renovating
tiny house. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's great. I mean, a tiny house thing is another huge thing. Actually, I'm going to mention this. It's going to be my pick, but I've got too many picks now. I've got this great hammer as well. So for my pick, I was going to have Perkins Brother Builders YouTube channel because it's a bit of a sort of deviation from our usual YouTube watching, which is crime and murder and things like that. Perkins Brother Builders are a couple of brothers who've run a company called Perkins Brothers Builders, oddly enough, and they're building houses in North Carolina, and they've been sort of videoing it because they've thought, well, we build houses all the time and it's really fun and interesting and not everyone gets to do it, so why don't we film it and talk you through the process and the decisions we make whilst we're doing it and stuff. And you can kind of watch the channel and watch some of their house builds and go away thinking, I actually do this myself, because they make it look so easy, but they also tell you all the ins and outs and the decisions they make and stuff. So it's kind of really inspired me. I actually really would like to, I'd do a free internship with them, go and move there for a bit, right? And just build houses for free with them. And I could just be paid in experience. It's pretty cool. I'd probably make a massive hash up.
Right. But you'd have a lot of fun at the same time, though. Is there anything you've managed to read about it since you got back?
The one thing I want to say about Svelte actually is that we have this new contributor. He's not made himself public on the organization yet, so I don't know whether he does or doesn't want to be mentioned, but I'm not going to do it for now. But what I'll say is this person has really sort of jumped in and it's given us all these amazing features and bug fixes and sort of completing a bunch of the sort of outstanding tasks we need to get into the beta phase. So it's looking really good right now. It's looking really nice, and just it's really cool when you see someone who jumps in like that and sort of gets involved really quickly and up to speed quickly. Svelte's been one of those notorious projects where it's quite difficult to get up to speed because it is quite a complex thing that it does. Like this ASTs and compilation is difficult. So it's really interesting to see someone jump in and sort of pick up the ball on that. So, and of course, Rich is launching projects with it right now. So he's also very eagerly sort of getting everything up to speed. So yeah, no promises again, ETA, everything like that. But we are, over the Christmas period, we took a few leaps and bounds in the right direction. So it's looking good, yeah. And it's worth mentioning probably the language tools repository as well. They've had a major release. So they're on 2.00 now, I believe. I can't say what's gone into it. I don't know what's gone into it, but I know that it was quite a big chunk of work. So that's well done to them to getting that to where it is.
We should probably have Simon on again.
We definitely should have Simon on, yeah. Absolutely.
To talk about the new stuff, because this is not my strong.
No, and as a non-TypeScript user, I don't really benefit from much of this stuff. I get the sort of VS Code highlighting and help, but I don't really benefit directly from it. But yeah, I mean, that's probably one of our most busy repositories because it's just constant improvement from there. The people in language tools are just all over it. It's brilliant.
Yep. Doing great work. And then, as usual, things are happening in Sapperland as well, right? Like some bug fixes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's not abandoned yet.
No. So I think we're going to cut a 0.29 release. Ben's sort of triaging things to go into that release. Now that probably will be like the final release, because it doesn't make sense to kind of start adding features to that at this point. It's better if we have the resource we have focused on SvelteKit. So that 0.29 will be probably the final Sapper release. If there's anything urgent needs to go into there, probably now's the time to speak. Actually, one more thing about SvelteKit I thought I'd mention, because it's now SkyPack enabled, because it's based on Snowpack, because it's now SkyPack enabled, you can do the fancy no npm, just specify URLs to SkyPack repositories, and it will download the deps and build them in, which is pretty interesting. Pretty interesting stuff. So yeah, if you haven't looked at SkyPack, have a look at that, because that's pretty novel.
Does that mean Svelte is Deno compatible?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I don't know, but it definitely moves us in the right direction. It definitely is a step forward. I think because SvelteKit will be almost abstracted from Node itself, and it'll be more of a kit around potentially deploying to Node or Cloudflare workers or whatever else you want to do, I don't see why Deno wouldn't be another platform for that, right? It just needs an adapter, like a compatibility layer. It doesn't tie you as much as Sapper did to Node anymore.
That's good. It sounds kind of like this is ESM modules, right?
Yeah. Oh, actually, I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, obviously, Rich is very all over ESM, so quite possibly it's very focused on that. But,
all right.
But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the ESM momentum is finally coming along. I think Node 14 is where ESM is unflagged, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Because I've been following Miles Lawrence, who's working really hard on it. I don't know why it was so hard, but it was hard. Yeah, and then I saw Syndrasaurus is moving all his stuff to ESM only,
right?
Meaning he will break people who assume node polyfills and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really coming along. Probably 2021 is kind of the year of ESM, and it's a pretty good bet to make. I didn't really think about that at the start, like this time last year.
Yeah,
so, big change.
Yeah.
We should probably do some predictions for 2021 for Svelte. Later in the show, or maybe next time.
I guess I could also. Oh yeah, I mean, so there was a new blog post. I guess is that what you were going to talk about?
Yeah. I was going to talk about like the community showcases there.
So just to update people, Dan Sandoval.
Yep.
He's kind of like taken over as like the official Svelte community newsletter maintainer. There are other Svelte newsletters that are run independently, but this is kind of like the official one that I guess is published on the Svelte blog, so it's official. And he put out a new version on January 1st.
Yep, lots of fun stuff in there.
Yeah, what happened with Svelte component typed? I saw the PR. I didn't actually understand it.
Yeah, I have no idea.
What PR we're talking about here?
No, so it's like a minor release that replaces Svelte component with Svelte component typed, and it's something to do with the language tools, I guess. I don't know.
That might be what's gone into 2.0.0,
right?
But I don't know. Again, I just don't use TypeScript, so I don't see all this kind of stuff.
If you're doing the TypeScript,
I think we should have Simon on.
Yeah, it'll probably help.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Cool. And then it's a bunch of community stuff, right?
Yeah. So there's this. Did you see the Listen Addict site? I thought that was pretty neat.
No,
it's like a site that notifies you when people have new talks. So I could probably like subscribe to you, Shawn, and then I'll get pings whenever you post new when you're doing conference talks and stuff.
I would subscribe to that just to put it on my own site. Like, here's my latest talks.
It's not a bad idea actually. If it has a feed of some sort, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
It's built in Svelte, of course.
So I know exactly how I would commercialize this because I've been thinking about this because I used to work in equity research and finance, and you have to keep up on the latest news regarding your stock. And guess what? Like, your CEO is on podcasts talking about pretty material things to do with their strategy. So it would be nice to get notifications about when they're on. Previously, I think the best way is to set like a Google alert, but that's pretty noisy. So a dedicated tool like this would be pretty helpful. And these guys can pay money.
Yeah, wow.
Probably a good idea for whoever built it.
Yeah, I learned recently that IKEA are using Svelte, which is surprising.
Yeah, on the international site, like the IKEA.com, right? Yeah,
it's weird because like all these national sites, or for me at least, all the non-British sites or equivalents of our sites, use Svelte, and our native ones don't. So like Decathlon, for instance, in the UK is still using their legacy stuff, and all the European ones are the ones I've looked at are all using Svelte. It's interesting.
Yeah, Svelte is blowing up though. Recently, it feels like, at least.
It definitely is.
It's all relative. I saw Adam Weathen's post. We're still kind of number 4-ish in the overall rankings, which is fine. We don't have to be the biggest, and I kind of like that. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, so it is relative, but I would say that the amount of like inquiries and newcomers is rapidly increasing. I'm seeing a lot more questions, a lot more people, a lot more chat. Yeah, so it's definitely blowing up, as you say. That we go through these kind of spikes now and then, and this sort of 2021 appears to be another one of those.
Yeah,
it's fun.
I mean, it's definitely due to the contributions of everyone in the community and maintainers, and I think Rich himself deciding to kick it up a notch with SvelteKit. It just does show just some life. Yeah, I've seen other projects that just kind of go stale because their maintainers don't really think about momentum, and it doesn't matter because people want to see a heartbeat.
Yeah, I think this newsletter is actually a very good thing.
Yeah, yes, and this podcast.
True.
Well, I hope
and also the upcoming conference, right?
Yeah. Do we have a date?
Not yet. No.
Do we have a month?
I'm thinking April sometime.
Okay.
I think that's how much time we're going to need. But yeah.
I mean, yeah, we could start kicking off like the talk proposals and stuff like that. And I think we have a bunch of ideas of how to make things better for organizers and for speakers and for audience members. Part of that is like the activity, like I've been actually thinking about this. Like, it would be it's a nice tradition to have like a Svelte coding activity during the conference.
Yes,
that's hopefully not too distracting and not too hard, but also fun. And I realized that clicker games are very in vogue. Like, I fire up my Apple App Store and I see a bunch of clicker games, and then like I think they're pretty easy to code, and people can get really creative with them. So we might want to do a clicker game.
Yeah, we could provide like a starter one, and then you can improve on that, add transitions, icons.
Exactly. You take it the way that you want. Like, you can make the state management very complex, or you can do animations or whatever. Yeah.
I was thinking about having like quiz between talks where you have like people can join and they can
That's a good idea. I like that. Yeah, I like that.
Something like that. Or I think it was Jake and Surma who did they did charades at some Google thing.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. Like a month ago. It was just like a short one. That could also be fun. So you can invite like community members to join in. Yeah. A lot of cool ideas. It's going to be way better than the second one. even though that one was nice.
Yeah. And also, the other thing that I think we all agree on is that it should be shorter, so it's not such a drag. People don't feel so tired at the end of the day. All right, but yeah, I mean, so the reason I brought that up was because I see a bunch of games here as well. Like, there's a multiplayer Tetris game in the community showcase. There's a math-based challenge game. It actually reminds me of the other game that's Rich Harris really liked, which like Tixie. Do you guys know about that?
No. What's that?
It's like you're restricted to these four variables. TIXY, like time, index, and then X and Y position.
Oh, yes.
And you have to code within 280 characters and produce something interesting. And it's like a really interesting like code golfing challenge. And that's a fun game too.
Yeah, that could be something to do.
That makes sense with the old little Matrix thing you posted a while ago, Tixieland.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, fun games. Yeah, there's a bunch here. Octave, Compass. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
A lot of fun stuff. And some new libraries and components as well. Like someone did their React query, but for Svelte.
Svelte query. I did see that.
Yeah. I think it's like I'm not entirely sure if it's the same thing, but looks cool.
There's also Adam Rax's Svelte. Is it Svelte? No, what's it called? It's basically a Svelte version of his React GraphQL module.
MicroGraphQL. His React one is called MicroGraphQL. I don't know.
So it might be
I didn't see the Svelte one. Yeah.
I think he rewrote it in Svelte.
Right. I mean, so okay, I guess I might as well mention. So Matthias Stahl, his Twitter handle is like HIGSCH with underscores between them.
Higgs.
He also, he also tweeted about a 20-line of code internationalization library in Svelte. And then he also made a talk about it. And because I'm in this mode of like requesting for talks to like keep the YouTube active and, just continue sharing content from people like outside of a conference setting, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, he's just very passionate about it, and it made this talk on Svelte internationalization. And that's effectively a library. Exactly. That's so much easier to pronounce. It's just like, if you don't know what it is, then it's a bit hard to find. But anyway,
sure.
So he's the guy that did the defending democracy with Svelte thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that wasn't the title, but that's what the tagline ended up being.
I just like, the data viz people have really embraced Svelte in a big way.
Yeah.
Moritz, I think on the Data Stories podcast, also interviewed Amelia Wattenberger. And I almost think that there should be like a day of the Svelte Society conference dedicated to data viz, because there's just such a big community there.
Yeah, I was a bit skeptical to that at first, but I think...
Why?
Because I didn't realize how popular Svelte is in the data viz community.
Yeah, I understood. Rich uses it.
I know, but like, but then I kind of like, I was thinking maybe you could position Svelte as like the data viz framework in a way, as a marketing thing. I mean, there's D3, so. I don't know.
I
know, but you could do better. Or could you? I don't know.
I mean, D3 is very specialized, right? It's very specialized. Svelte is more like a general purpose. But I guess it kind of almost automatically positions itself for data viz because of the way that Rich has built it and the way he's using it. I think reactivity is also very good for that sort of stuff.
Yes. All right. Let's see here. There are a bunch of other new components that you can take a look at, like a tiny virtual lists or some routers. Oh, we've been missing routers.
Yeah, more routers every month. New router. That's it. It's worth actually checking these out because people are trying to solve real problems.
Yeah. So. we're jokingly saying it like that, but it's nice
I think
to see more
I think
routers.
that having Scott Tolinsky on was great because he mentioned Tinrow, and I've kind of looked at that and never looked away now. I'm so focused on Tinrow because it's just a really great router.
He's very opinionated about routing, which is pretty cool. I'm not. It's like as long as I got a way to link things, and
same here.
Although I wish that query params were a formal part of the state that you get from routes, because I end up having to build that so much.
Really?
Yeah. That's how you get copy pastable apps, which with like the state just embedded in the URL, right? You have to put it all in the query params. Okay, one more library, and then I think we're done. Is Svelte Zoomable? I think it's coming from Daniel Infeld. He's just like very active. I don't know who this guy is, to be honest, but he's just very active online. Wow, he's based in Hawaii. But yeah, it's just like a transition or animation sort of library type of thing. And it's published and it's in a repo. And the demo looks pretty good. So yeah, it's just another way to zoom back and forth between content, I guess.
I did see that come to the channel, actually. A good one.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of new learning resources as well. I haven't been able to check these out. There's someone made a awesome Svelte list. I guess that's nice. But we also have the Svelte Society one.
I think this must be a couple of those already, right? So there's now probably 3 or 4.
Yeah, probably.
Would be nice to have a single, mind you, I mean.
Yeah, I think the problem here is like keeping them up to date. And because people lose interest and they don't have time, all sorts of reasons, right?
Yeah, I guess that's the advantage to having one as part of a website rather than a GitHub repo, because people can actually like vote the feedback on ones that maybe don't work anymore, or libraries that have become abandoned or whatever. They can rate and review them, that sort of stuff.
That's my issue with awesome lists in general. No one ever files the PR to note that something is no longer awesome.
Well, someone did do that on the components inside Svelte, actually, because we've got this Svelte integrations repository, which is kind of I'm maintaining it myself right now, and it's an unknown. Who knows what will happen to it or where it's destined for? But someone did do a PR, I think, to remove a load of stuff. I was like, that's pretty nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
cool. So I think there's one pretty interesting like talk or learning thing here. It's like reactive web apps with Crystal and Svelte. So Crystal it's really cool language, I suppose, for backend development. I've been interested in taking a look at it, but haven't been able to yet.
Based on?
So it's inspired by Ruby.
Right. Okay. I mean, it sort of makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah. What else is there?
I can give a couple updates from the Twitter side of things. There's new community organizers popping up all the time. I think there's I'm tracking something like 15 Svelte societies worldwide.
Wow.
Which is what it is, because there's no meetings going on, so everyone's online.
Yep.
For the most part, but I do hope to start Svelte Society Singapore soon. Yeah, so Svelte Canada is looking for help with the logo and everything. I think Mike Nichols, who has published some good stuff in the past, he's looking for help. So anyone in Canada who wants to get in touch, either get in touch with me or Mike Nichols and get that going. Svelte Dublin is basically up for adoption. The guy who was running it was like, I'm not doing a good job maintaining this, but I have a sweet URL, which is sveltedubl.in. So that's a very nice Dublin. I imagine all the Dublin stuff is just always squatting on Indian domain names randomly.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, stuff is going on. I think Svelte India is kind of chugging along as well. They're organizing a meetup, and I'm helping them put stuff up on the YouTube as well. Yeah, and so I think my message is, I guess, look for Svelte in your area. Yeah. Particularly in different languages. I think Svelte Brazil is quite active. I have no idea about Svelte Russia, but yeah, that's
yeah. We don't know about much from those guys.
Svelte Russia used to be absolutely huge, didn't it?
We should have someone on.
Valley.
It's probably still huge. We just don't know the people involved.
Probably.
Yeah.
There's also there was a guy who contacted me about starting like a Svelte Society Italy as well.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting.
That's awesome.
I haven't gotten back to him yet, which I just realized that. Yeah. I think that's it for new stuff.
I think there's one more thing, actually. There's Humble Bundles books, right? There's a new Humble Bundle out, and one of the books in there is Svelte 3 book.
Oh.
I feel like it's the book written by Italy Pale Ale, who I believe works at Microsoft, I think.
Yep. Yeah, he did the router, right? Svelte SPA router?
Yeah, the Svelte SPA router. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Sean's laughing. I don't know why. Maybe it's
I just like how we don't know their real names. We just know their handles on Discord.
I mean, this is the internet, right? This is Swix is laughing at me now.
Yeah, exactly. But yours is just Antony wherever you go. So it's pretty consistent.
Well, where I can get it.
Yeah, no, cool. But I think lots going on, and hopefully as the year continues, we'll liven up even more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So picks. Do you guys have them?
I do have another pick. Yeah. So I mean, I'm happy to go first if.
Yeah, I go for it.
So my pick is now. This is one of those things. Like I say that I haven't purchased it, but I have purchased it in a way. So we went shopping and we were looking at these bone conducting headphones because my friend has them for cycling. I've got the box here, but that's not really useful because no one can really see it. But it's effectively a bone conducting headphones or bone conduction headphones. What they essentially do is they sit just to the front of your ear, just not in the ear, and they vibrate the bones in your ear rather than using sound waves to do that. They vibrate them directly. So it means that you can actually have music on in reasonably good quality. I mean, it's pretty high quality from what I've listened to. It's a reasonable volume, quite high volume even, and yet you can still hear and interact in conversations around you. And you're not shouting because you're wearing headphones, and you're not missing things because you're wearing headphones. You can just almost communicate normally with music playing as well. It's almost like having speakers in the room. It's quite amazing, and they're perfect for things like swimming because there's no actual outputs, speaker output things. So they're totally waterproof. They're Bluetooth capable, so you can have Bluetooth to your phone whilst you're swimming, or they can be they can have music on them. These particular ones are called Aftershocks. So we've been trying out these Aftershocks ones, and they're really good in terms of all those features. It's just something that's never really occurred to me, but I don't wear headphones that often when I'm out in the street because I like to be aware of my surroundings. And this does solve that, which is quite amazing for me. So yeah, my pick, I guess, is bone conducting headphones as a rule. But if you're going to have a look at these, have a look at the Aftershocks, because they're a pretty good example of them.
So my dad uses these, and I always wonder, like, have we conclusively studied all the health impacts of vibrating your head bones at this high frequency all the time?
Someone else mentioned this as well, and I think that my response would be this would still be the same. Is that when you listen to music at whatever volume, music works by vibrating the three bones in your ear, right? The hammer and everything else. So vibrating them via sound waves or directly surely is not as much of a muchness, right? If the music's at the same volume.
Well, it's vibrating your temple, depending on where you wear it.
Well, yeah, I think you wear them just in front of your, what's the bone there? I don't know. It just transmits through the bones, doesn't it, I suppose? I don't know, to be honest, but I would feel, as a sort of layman's guess, that it's not any worse or better than listening to music via sound waves vibrating those same bones.
All right, fair enough.
But again, I don't know. I'm not a medical. I'm not medically trained or anything like that.
It's one of those things. Yeah. Anyway, it's probably just an irrational fear. Should you go first, or should I?
Yeah, I can go. So this Christmas, I made homemade Swedish meatballs, which are amazing.
What? They don't come from IKEA?
When you say made,
I actually made them from scratch, using a recipe. No,
nice.
but if you haven't tried like homemade proper Swedish meatballs, you really should. It's really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you got a
that's
recipe?
my pick.
Yes. A recipe for
yes. I'll share it in the notes. Definitely.
Nice.
Sweet. Wow, that's a good pick. Solid pick.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna pick a friend because he helped me out recently. So this is Andrew Welch. He's Gaijinity on Twitter. Gaijin, like the Japanese name for foreigner, I assume. His blog is at nystudio107.com and his podcast is at devmode.fm. I just generally find him to be a pretty nice, knowledgeable guy. Not pretty, very nice. And a little bit, he's funny. He just listen to any beginning introduction of devmode.fm. He asks you a oddball question to just throw you off your balance. And when the one time I was on, I was really taken off guard and I totally lost my train of thought. And he likes to do that to kind of provoke.
So what was the question?
She was like, if you're camping in the Himalayas with llamas and you're on your last tin can of food, which JavaScript framework would you use? It's just a completely unrelated setting. You're just still thinking about that situation because he's very descriptive and very he just seems to come up with it on the spot. If you're jumping out of an airplane with no parachute, what kind of CSS style do you like? I don't know. It's pretty funny. But the reason I'm picking him is because he's very knowledgeable. His blog has articles on Tailwind, Webpack, AWS, Docker, and it's very, very annotated. If you ever wanted to understand what a Webpack config looks like, he's actually gone through and annotated all of it and explained it really well. And it's very nicely laid out. And this guy's been in the industry for decades and he's still doing this for fun, and it's just he's the kind of developer I kind of want to be.
He's not building houses then?
No, he's not building houses. No.
Right.
He's just living his life, and he's got a podcast, got a bunch of friends talking about tech and making clients happy. I think it's a platonic ideal of what a developer life could be like.
Yeah.
And so his blog posts are really helpful. But then also I had this problem recently because I got a vertical monitor and my screen wasn't filling up the monitor width. And I tweeted it out. Within 5 minutes, he actually gave me the exact right answer that I needed. So I was like, damn it, you even know hardware stuff. So a pretty helpful guy. I recommend him highly.
Sounds good. Question, actually, has anyone made, and I'm going to say this because I don't necessarily believe in these New Year's resolutions. I don't think if you've got something to fix in your life, you should wait a year for some arbitrary date to do it. But
no, probably
it's
not.
one of those things that people do, right? So has anyone got any?
Ooh. I was thinking about maybe doing one, but not a proper one. It's just one of those you do every year. I'm going to exercise more this year or something like that.
That seems like a reasonable one to have.
Yeah.
I think, Shawn?
Yeah, for me. So I also struggle with that idea of I think setting 1 year goals is an arbitrary length of time. And most of us, the way I put it is most of us haven't earned the right to set 1 year goals. If we can't even set a 1 month goal and then just keep cutting it down. So for me, I actually blogged about this at the start of the year and I called it a Fibonacci goal system where you sort of follow the Fibonacci sequence. You set a 1 day goal, make sure you reach that. then set a 2-day goal, 3-day goal, 5-day. What's next? 8.
Yeah. The next Fibonacci one.
Yeah. Apparently, if you go up to 80, if you go up to 89, so from 1 all the way to 89, it actually takes 232 days total, which is August 20th. And so anytime you miss a goal, because you're gonna miss them, and the problem with like an annual goal is like basically you just kind of give up right there. But for my system, I think you kind of just step back one level. So if you miss like the 5-day goal, then you go back to the 3-day goal, get a win, and once you have that win, you try the 5-day goal again, and just to basically build goal reaching as a muscle. And it kind of makes the case that most people don't have the ability to make 1-year goals because they don't know how to estimate goals, and they don't have the discipline to stick to it. So you kind of have to just build it up from scratch. So yeah, I mean, that's it for me. The problem is like, what should you set the goal on? That's an open question. And I don't really have one. So writing is a baseline thing for me. So my January 1st 1-day goal was writing. January 3rd, I did practice the guitar for 2 days. And then I took a break because I fell sick. Today I have to decide my 3-day goal, and yeah, it just keeps going.
I think I'm going to try this.
Yeah, I was really ready to dismiss the first like you have to earn the right to make a year goal kind of thing because I thought, well, I'll do what I like. But actually, now you've put it in that perspective that you work your way through the Fibonacci sequence. That's really interesting. I really like that actually. I might try and apply that. That could be my second
obviously
resolution.
it's a figurative right. It's it's just
sure. But it's one of those things. It seems like I don't know. It's interesting that it immediately sounds like a negative, but actually, if you think about the reasons behind it, it's really positive. Actually, I really like that. Interesting.
Yeah, we got to build our way up. The reason I started thinking about this because I've been very steeped in this idea that systems are better than goals, which is this idea that just setting goals by themselves also don't tell you how to accomplish them.
Sure.
And also, once you reach them, you kind of lost. Whereas systems are kind of just ever running, ever going, and they kind of just tell you what to do every day. And so a lot of systems over goals people are just like, let's just screw goals, like no goals. And I don't think that's right either. So I wanted a balance of goals and systems. So essentially the conclusion was a system of goals. And this is what I came up with.
Well,
system of goals.
Was this a blog post you wrote?
Yeah. It's swix.io/Fibonacci goals.
Yep. We'll link it in the show notes. All right, cool. So that's us for this time.
Yeah. It's always fun catching up, and Happy New Year.
Yeah. Happy New Year, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.